Well, let's talk fast fashion.
Yeah.
So I told you about that documentary, True Cost,
Hmm.
and it was horrifying. It was
Right.
really a dismal message and display of the fashion industry, the clothing industry. It tied into, coincidentally, we also happened to watch the documentary Minimalist
Yeah. Yeah.
right around the same time. So they, in essence, those kind of
Yeah.
tie, in a little bit. Um, so it was pretty interesting. Um, and I guess you could do a couple things. You could. It's a nice long conversation. It's pretty interesting too, like why you're not fast fashion, like literally how you're not and why you're not,
Right.
and then how do you, well,
Well, it's
ask you
interesting,
later.
and it's fast fashion for those that don't know. H&M, Primark, um, Zara. Those types of brands are all about chasing trends and essentially selling you disposable clothes that you'll need to buy.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, and they literally like disintegrate on you like within weeks.
Yeah. Because their
So
seasons are.
yeah, they don't want to really set their own standard for style, as I like to say. What they want to do is chase trends and make things quickly and obviously very cheaply, that are sold at maybe in an under market price perhaps, but the margins in there are so you know good for them that they can afford to just churn and burn, and that's kind of what they do. So the difference between what we're doing and I've to sound like a pioneer, it might come across that way, but we've coined the phrase "mill to market," much the way farm to table um, is essentially harvesting crop off a farm and getting it to the table, and having people eat that food in a restaurant or at a farm or a market of some sort at a reasonable price. And
Right.
essentially what we believe, and this is really, I'll be honest, was born out of necessity. It touches on what I mentioned earlier. When you're a young company, um, it makes no business sense, first of all, to just buy a bunch of goods and put them on the shelf and
Hope.
sell through them, and hope too. The idea is that you kind of like again, to use a food analogy, you want to make the order as much as you can, stay lean, because you don't, quite frankly, have a lot of cash. And the last thing you want to do, if you can avoid it, and sometimes it's a really difficult balance, is to tie up any cash that you have in inventory. Um, so what we started out doing when we really got into the apparel side of what we did with, particularly t-shirts, short sleeves and long sleeves, is we ordered as few as we could. We printed them, but only those that we thought that we could sell within a 2, 3, 4 week period. And then, we would keep a real close eye on when it was that we either sold out or were expected to sell out, and we'd make more. And when you can do that relatively quickly, you're not only making a product that is, unlike fast fashion, durable. It's good. It's made locally. It comes through, printing, embroidered, stitched, cut, and sewed locally, and warehoused locally, and then it's essentially on the market within a day or two. There's less links in the chain and all that kind of stuff. So the idea of farm to table, in our case, in the apparel and accessory business, mill to market, is, make goods, as needed. Don't, stack them high and try to get rid of them. Make them as your business permits, and sell them at a price, quite frankly, that might be, and we hope, at least as much or maybe a little less than what people would expect to buy for a made USA garment,
Yeah.
and provide tremendous value to the consumer. So, you know, it's the antithesis of fast fashion in more ways than one, but we think it's just more synonymous with what's gone on in the food industry and the transparency that's required in being able to build not only, you know, reasonably priced goods, but stuff that is made to support, local craftspeople, screen printers,
Yeah.
embroiderers, people
Yeah.
that do really trade jobs.
Yeah.
And
And your footprint is way lower when you're not shipping your stuff and
that's correct.
flying your stuff and.
That's a huge point. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you can take a lot of cost out of the chain, not to mention links, by not having to ship anything.
Yeah.
So, what we're working on right now is, whether it's a totally cut and sewn, like soup to nuts, scratch to finished product, anorak jacket that we sell for $180, um, within a matter of days or a week, and then having it on the shelf, essentially for a day, 2 days, and then it's to the market like quickly.
Yeah.
Um, you are one, not wasting time, because time is money, but you're not spending any money shipping that product around.
Yeah.
Logistically, it's a nightmare. So we've really focused on the idea of shrinking the chain as much as we can. And then when it comes to the value aspect of a supply chain or the value chain is, when you do that, you're able to offer without argument a better product for a better price,
Yeah.
or in a reasonable price. I mean, we